Okay, we're going to go ahead. Can everybody hear me? Can everybody hear me okay? All right. We're going to go ahead and get tonight's town hall meeting started. It's 5 o'clock. All right. My name is Jonathan Huerta. I'm one of the solicitors for the Scranton School District. I've been asked to moderate tonight's town hall. If you saw the first one, it's going to go very similarly. I've been asked to read a short script first, and I'm going to read it slowly so that it can be translated by Ms. Romadini into Spanish and by Mr. Kazinga into Swahili. So same kind of setup, and I'm going to read the statement at this point. So, thank you and welcome to the second of 3 town hall meetings that the Scranton School District will be conducting regarding building reconfiguration options.
Muy buenas tardes, tengan todos, sean bienvenidos a esta segunda reunión de 3 reuniones que se harán para hablar junto con el Distrito Escolar de Scranton y compartir ideas acerca de la reestructuración y de todas las opciones en esta reunión.
Asante na karibuni wote kwa mkutano wetu wa pili katika mabaraza 3 la ukumbi wa mji wa shule ya wilaya ya Scranton.
The purpose of the Scranton School District's town hall meetings is to provide an opportunity to listen to the school community regarding the recent reconfiguration options that were presented on October 17, 2022. The reconfiguration plan presented options to consolidate buildings in order to provide improved learning environments for students. We value everyone's feedback and look forward to productive and insightful meetings.
El propósito de esta reunión es el llegar a tener la oportunidad de conversar con la comunidad, escucharlos y también que es presentarles la reestructuración reciente, todas las opciones que tenemos y que se revisaron el día 17 de octubre de este año. La reestructuración es un plan que presenta varias opciones para consolidar varias escuelas en orden de proporcionar un ambiente de educación, un ambiente educativo para los estudiantes. Valoramos todas las opiniones de ustedes y estamos ansiosos por tener una reunión productiva y más profunda.
Lengo ama shaba la ukumbi wa mji wa shule ya wilaya ya Scranton ni kutoa fursa kusikiliza jumai ya shule kuhusu chaguo la ukerebeji wa majuzi ambayo ziliwasiliwa mu Oktoba tarehe 17 mwaka huu tunayo ya 2022. Mpango ya kuumurisha jengo ili kuboresha majifunzo mema ya wanafunzi. Tunatamani maoni ya kila mtu na kuangalia mbele kwa uzalishi wa mkutano wa ufahamu.
We ask all participants to conduct themselves in a professional manner. Inappropriate behavior will not be tolerated and will result in removal from the premises. Inappropriate behavior includes, but is not limited to, name-calling, shouting, personal attacks, aggressive communication, or violent threats. We ask that the town hall meetings reflect mutual respect.
Le agradecemos a todos los participantes que por favor se conduzcan de manera profesional porque los comportamientos inapropiados no serán tolerados durante estas reuniones y como resultado pues tendrán que ser removidos de las premisas de la escuela. Un comportamiento inadecuado es limitante, pero no solamente incluye los nombres como apodos, los gritos, los ataques personales o una comunicación agresiva o amenazas violentas. Entonces, pedimos por favor que todos se comporten durante esta reunión con muchísimo respeto.
Tunawasihi washiriki wetu wote kujiendeza katika huduma ya kitaalumu. Tabia isiyofaa haitavumiliwa na itasababishwa kuondolewa ndani ya majenzi. Tunawasihi mkutano wa ukumbi wa mji tafadhali kuheshimiana.
We will be listening to all questions and responding if possible. All other questions will be responded to in a frequently asked question document that will be posted on the district website.
Escucharemos todas sus preguntas y responderemos todas las preguntas que sean posible. Todas las preguntas que queden restante serán respondidas en un documento de preguntas frecuentes y que estará posteado en el sitio online del Distrito Educativo de Scranton.
Tutasikiliza maswali yote na kuyajibu ikiwezekana. Maswali yengine yatajibiwa hati ya maswali yanayoulizwa mara kwa mara itakayochapishwa babla ya wilaya yetu.
In order to hear as many speakers as possible, speakers will be limited to 3 minutes. We also ask that if your question has been asked already, that you yield your time for other speakers' questions.
El orden en el que todas las personas van para que sea posible que las personas participen, cada persona tendrá el turno y será limitado a 3 minutos. También pedimos que su tiempo de pregunta, si tiene su pregunta realmente lista, es mucho mejor, y así de esa manera pues le damos acceso a otras personas a participar en el mismo orden.
Ili kusikia wazungumzaji wengi ikiwezekana, wazungumzaji watapewa dakika 3, na kama swali limekwisha uliziwa, tafadhali kupeleka muda kwa wengine wa ulizaji.
If there are additional questions or comments that extend beyond the 3 minutes, they can be submitted in writing via a Google form on the school district website, and they will be included in the frequently asked questions document.
Si hay preguntas adicionales o comentarios adicionales, vamos a extender el tiempo, no se puede extender el tiempo de 3 minutos. Es decir, si su respuesta abarca más de 3 minutos, usted puede responder de manera escrita a través de un documento en Google, a un formulario en la página de Google, en el Distrito Escolar de Scranton, en la página del Distrito Escolar de Scranton, y también vamos a incluir allí dentro del documento que también va a registrar las preguntas más frecuentes y las respuestas a esas preguntas.
Kukiwa maswali ya zaidi ya dakika 3, yanaweza kuuliziwa kwa njia ya uandishi kupitia Google mubabla yetu ya shule ya Scranton, na majibu yatapewa katika maswali yanayoulizwa mara kwa mara kwa njia ya babla yetu ya shule.
The town hall will conclude tonight at 6:30 p.m. Any speakers that have signed up and did not have the opportunity to speak will be asked to submit their questions or comments via, again, the Google form that will be on the school district website.
Esta reunión terminará a las 7:30 de la noche. Todos aquellos participantes que hayan firmado para participar esta noche, pero que no haya quedado tiempo para su participación, les vamos a pedir que nos entreguen sus preguntas a través del formulario en la página de Google, en el website del Distrito Escolar.
Mkutano wetu itasimamishiwa na saa 12 na dakika 30, na tutawasihi wote wenye watapewa bahati ya kuuliza maswali yao wanaweza kutufikishia hayo munjia ya website ya shule yetu, na tutajibu katika maswali yanapouliziwa mara kwa mara.
Okay, and with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Orr to call the first speaker.
Hi, everybody. Good evening.
Good evening.
All right. All right. My name is Lottie Olson. I am a 1990 Scranton High School graduate. I actually graduated with Patrick Laffey. And I am a parent of a senior at Scranton High School and a fifth grade student at Northeast Intermediate. I'm up here today for a number of reasons. I'm very sad and concerned about our district and that we won't produce such awesome people that we did graduate with, Pat. We really did graduate with some really awesome, successful people. And I'm concerned we're just not gonna produce the same, in all honesty. And it's heartbreaking. So I'm here today to really focus on consistency. In college, I was taught and learned that consistency in the classroom is the key to an effective learning environment. So I'm confused as to why it is constantly overlooked by decision makers in our district. As I began to further read on this topic, because I wanted a starting point and a theme for what I was going to speak about, I couldn't believe the number of articles I found and read that supported that idea of consistency. So I have now been at Charles Sumner for 8 years, and I want to quickly just go over the inconsistency that not only I have experienced as a teacher, but most importantly, the students that matter here. I have had 8 different principals in my 8 years here at Charles Sumner. So on average, that's 1 principal every single year. There have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different kindergarten teachers. There has been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different first grade teachers. Mind you, only in 8 years. There have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different teachers in second grade, again, in only 8 years. There have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different third grade teachers in 8 years. There have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different special education teachers here in 8 years. And I myself personally have worked with 3 different teachers in my cohort, who's the person for science, social studies, in my 8 years. And that's not all the inconsistencies.
Ms. Olson, if you could wrap up your comments, please.
I really wanted to finish. So, library's gone, no more violin, another reading series, PSSA's online. I still have trouble taking that away. No more preschool. And this is my building alone, and I won't go on continuing with the inconsistencies, but it really, really affects the kids. And again, I'm just concerned that we're not gonna produce these same grade students that I had the pleasure of going to school with. So thank you for listening to me tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Olson.
And have a good evening.
Thank you very much, Ms. Olson.
Hi, my name's Kathy Connor. I am a grandparent of a student at Charles Sumner, and I'm also a taxpayer. I'd like to ask a few questions, starting off with, I'm sure, like Lottie said, we all agree that stability and consistency is what children need in their lives. And the past few years have been very difficult for our children with COVID They've missed schooling, they were homeschooled, they returned wearing masks, missing time because of illnesses. And this year, we're just getting back to some normalcy in our school. And now you want to uproot these kids and move them to another school. Not only Sumner, the other schools too. You're changing boundaries. So this is my question. Are you planning to hire mental health workers to help the children deal with the stress, anxiety, and depression that's created by the chaos of constant change for them, and by closing Charles Sumner? Secondly, staying on this topic of safety, are you aware that there are 250 registered sex offenders in Scranton, and God knows how many we don't know about? Some of our families don't have the luxury of 2 cars, one for work and one to take the kids to school, so they'll have to walk. Some at least 6 blocks, exposing them to dangerous predators. Also, I'm sure most of us would consider Jackson Street, Washburn, and Luzerne Street to be considered a dangerous route. I thought that kids living a mile away from school or on a dangerous route were supposed to get free busing. So my question is, what are your plans for busing, and what's the estimated cost for the additional busing that's needed? Another question I'd like to ask you is, what's going to happen if the 900 cyber school kids choose to come back into the classroom? Now you've closed a lot of schools. There's no room for them. What are you going to tell them? No, they have to stay cyber? Where are you going to put them? And does this mean that preschool, that pre-kindergarten will never come back to the Scranton School District, because there's not going to be a place to put these kids? That's going to lower our property values, because people are not going to look to buy homes in this area, because we don't offer preschool. We offer schools that you have to travel dangerous routes in dangerous areas to get to them. If Charles Sumner School closes, it'll cause extreme congestion on Hampton Street and Willard at the drop-off area. I, for one, have lung disease, and I'm not able to walk up hills. So for me personally, this is going to cause a problem. And I pick my granddaughter up daily. Traffic going to Main Avenue is going to be clogged due to no traffic light at Hampton and Main Avenue. And I believe this will create a dangerous situation for our children and families in vehicles and walking. And I'd like to know what's your plan to control traffic at the pickup and drop-off at Willard. And another thing is, my understanding is that you lease 5 modulars at the cost of $300,000 for 18 months to be able to move our 5th graders into the middle school. If you left our 5th graders in elementary school where I believe they belong, our level, right now you're saying our school levels are only 67%. They would probably be back up to 80%. So I don't know why you did that, and we would have a place for the cyber kids in the preschool to come back. And I'm sure that the money could have been used for other things. And
Ms.
so my
Connors,
actual question is, don't you feel that that was an excessive amount of money to waste on leasing something rather than paying for things that we already had?
Thank you, Ms. Connors, for your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, Ms. Orr, 1 second.
Mrs. Orr, if I can just answer a few of them. There's some that will be in the frequently asked question, but with response to the mental health, that's a great question. In the proposed budget right now, we are looking to hire a mental health program supervisor and 3 social workers, and at this time we do not have any in the district. And we also have 2 additional counselors that are in the proposed budget. So those are some additions. Always need more for sure, but that we have to continue to build on that. Transportation and hazardous roads, I'm going to allow the transportation director to answer that if she can at this time. Capacity, you asked about capacity in the buildings and the cyber. So although if you look in the frequently asked question document that's online, you'll see that even when we do move students, if the board chooses to vote this plan in, there is still capacity in the buildings. So we always have to prepare for some of those students to come back. We do have an influx that come and then go, so we have been tracking that. And pre-K, I can't answer that. At this time, I can't tell you whether pre-K will come back to the district. At this time, there is no plan for it to come right now, as of today. And the traffic at Willard, that'll have to be answered in the frequently asked question. Okay? And Mrs. Maloney, can you add any comment on the hazardous roads?
Yeah, I don't ever need a microphone. So, we will obviously follow the policy, which is 1.5 miles for children to walk to school, unless it is a hazardous route, which you mentioned. We work with the city police. I've been in touch with Captain Flynn. They do a wonderful job of accommodating where we need to have a crossing guard to help kids cross a road if that is the route that they're going to take to school. Of course, we're going to look for a safe walking route and do what's right by all the kids. And we look at them all on an individual basis as well.
So if, again, to answer your question, we do look at the hazardous roads. And if there is hazardous roads, then there is transportation that would be provided. If there's not, then we try to provide a crossing guard if necessary. And we would identify the road, we could identify a route that's not hazardous, of course. So that the transportation department would be working on that.
Yeah, but you have no plan in place right now.
Are there hazardous roads at this, go ahead.
Yes, so right now the district already has routes that are determined hazardous, that's done by PennDOT. So there's preliminary data that we collect in the district for PennDOT, that gets forwarded to PennDOT. PennDOT then comes out and they evaluate it and make a determination. So for instance, your speed each mentioned Durham Street, that may already be considered hazardous route, we may already have that route being paved. If we don't, we go out and gather that preliminary data, we then forward that data to PennDOT individuals that we work with, and they come out and they make that final determination on what that's hazardous. So the district ourselves, we don't make, we do not make a hazardous route determination. PennDOT will make that final determination. So what Superintendent King is saying is if PennDOT were to say that the roadway was not hazardous, they did not give us that determination, and the overwhelming, communities felt that it was safe, still unsafe, we would do whatever we could to work with our city police, and also with the crossing guard and such to do what we need to do.
And Ms. Connor, to the extent you had additional comments, I would encourage you to use the Google form.
Yes, if there's anything that you.
Yeah, I just have one more question that I didn't answer.
What is it?
I just would like to know if we're going to, at some point, not see a tax increase, because we are set to have a 3% increase for next year.
At this point, the proposed budget is 3.4%.
3.4.
Yes. And as far as your question, I can't answer that. That's a.
But I did think that was the point of the recovery plan, was to not raise our taxes.
No, that's actually opposite of what the recovery plan states. The recovery plan states that we will raise taxes each year
To the actual,
to the actual index.
3.4 is below the actual index this year.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. And if you have any other additional questions, please submit them, and we'd be happy to answer them on that frequently asked question.
Mr. Orr, the next speaker.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Evans. I am a parent of a third grader here at Charles Sumner. If I may, I would like to start off with a quick poll. How many of you have taken classes, courses, webinars on education, psychology, children with special needs, mental health, trauma, or social emotional learning? How many of you have parents with children that are being affected? How many of you are working closely with families in this community? I'm sorry if I sound like I'm yelling, I'm really not. If you have not responded to any of my questions, then you don't dare say you care about these children in this community. Don't dare say you understand how us parents feel. Don't dare you say you understand social, emotional, and mental health learning. Tonight, I want to ask you questions. You may have the answers, you may not, but it will be questions to think about. You already spoke about hiring counsels. Well, we're closing this school. With what money are we hiring more people? Just questioning. What about their social emotional learning? What about their education? My son had his parent-teacher conference this week. His teacher stated that many of these students are still struggling with addition in 3rd grade. What are your plans to get these children caught up? How is this going to affect these precious test scores? The reasons are because of COVID and the strike. And yes, I supported the strike. Do you think it's okay to pull the rug out from under them again? At the school board meeting, it was discussed that someone would contact the fire marshal about the number of people per building. Was that ever done? Is there going to be an increase of traffic of crossing guards or increase of number of police to help traffic? I thought that if they were crossing the buses, you said PennDOT, so that would be the state, so that one, if that's being addressed. I'm like shaking like a leaf. Have you been to Willard or Tripp during pickups or drop-offs? It is very busy and congested. What are your plans to fix this? Some of these families are going to be walking a half hour plus to get to these schools. That would be great on a spring day. What about below 0 or 90 degrees? What about that child with severe asthma? This morning would have sent him into a severe asthma attack. What about a child with physical disabilities? What about a family with infants in strollers or toddlers that are just walking? What about the child that is vomiting profusely and a mother has to walk 6 blocks with the vomiting child coming home? Are you going to work with the mayor and the city to make sure that sidewalks are clean of snow and ice, debris, snow piles on corners? You can't see around those. If Adams closes, what's going to happen with the building? Will a vacant, dilapidated building, what is that going to do our housing market of the area? When families want to move into an area, first thing they look for is the schools. That's what I did. No schools, nobody's moving to Scranton. How much does it cost for the trailers? You already mentioned that. How is that saving the district any money? How much is the lease at Monticello? How much will it fix to cost to make this building ADA appropriate? We're talking ramps, wheelchairs, expanding doors. Last question, I promise. What about Lackawanna College wanting to buy the admin building? Where will the administration be rehomed? How much will it cost to rehome the administration building? I'm asking you not to close Sumner. I understand there's a bigger picture of the entire district. However, the money should not come from our children, their learning, their mental health, and their overall well-being. I hope that these questions I posed give you something to think about and how it will affect our families. If you vote to close the school, you are showing that you really do not understand children, trauma, or mental health. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. One second, Ms. Orr.
Mrs. Evans, right? Yes, with regards to, I'm going to go to your question regarding the fire marshal. And yes, actually, the fire chief is here tonight. We did get a response from him. It was consistent with what we received from our solicitor, and you can find that on the FAQ. I know our solicitors is on the FAQ. And did you add the?
It's not up there.
Okay, it's in line with what we heard from that. Okay. No, you're fine. You're fine. Thank you for all your points. Okay. All right.
Ms. Orr.
Good evening. My name is William Kreinberg. I have a daughter who comes to Charles Sumner. She loves it here, and the teachers, they really do support these children. I feel that for you guys to consider closing some place that's like a small community, there's families, they do stuff with the kids, they all enjoy being here. It's very stressful on the children. You know as adults how change could stress people out. I feel that there should be a lot of help for these kids if they're going to close the school to get them through this transition into going to a different school. I know for my family itself, we have one vehicle. I work 4 out of the 5 days that they're in school. My wife would have to walk a half an hour to get to the Isaac Tripp. And we have an infant, and that's detrimental. That's stressful on both the family and the children. You have to walk, like Sarah stated, and it's very stressful. Also, the other question I have is that all the school directors that support the school closing were voted out of the office last election year. I think it's clear what the people of Scranton want to be done with their school district. So why are you closing the schools anyway?
Thank you, Mr. Kreinberg.
Mr. Kreinberg, I will just address your last statement as far as why are we doing this, I think you realize that we have a state and board-approved recovery plan in which we have to follow. There are consequences for not following that. One of them could be receivership. That's not what the district wants. That's the worst-case scenario. So to answer your question, why are we doing this? We do have capacity in our buildings, and basically in the recovery plan, it identifies that we have to look at these buildings and reconfiguration, and that's where we are today. Oh, I'm only going to answer, okay, we're not going to be yelling back and forth. That's what we're trying to stop. Thank you for sharing, Mr. Kreinberg.
Good, I'm short, so this works. Hello, my name is Emily, or as my kindergarten students know me as Miss Emily. I am a first-year teacher who was given the opportunity of a lifetime to be able to teach kindergarten here at this amazing school, and I really couldn't be any more grateful. I was actually a student teacher here last year in kindergarten with my other kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Denenbaum, and it made me fall in love with the fact that I wanted to be a teacher and change lives more than I was in the second grade when I knew that I wanted to be a teacher. So upon coming into my dream job, I had no idea that my favorite school, the school that I hold near and dear to my heart, would be shut down after my first year of teaching. But what I hold even more near and dear to my heart and even closer are my 21 kindergarten students who are smart, who are amazing, and who are capable of doing those amazing things. And so I think throughout this whole process, there has been a lot of adult talk, as my kindergartners would call it, and I'm not too sure if anybody took into account of how these children are going to feel. And I know that's been a point that's brought up at every single meeting. But how are they going to feel when they're moved from their local community school where they found a home, a safe space to learn, grow, and feel like they are individually cared for, and they're not just a number in a seat? So instead of assuming what they may think, I actually asked them. And I did sit my 21 5- and 6-year-olds down on our circle time carpet, and I asked them individually to tell me what they love about our school. And if it's okay, I'd like to share some of that with you. So my students are really excited to learn how to read. They cannot get enough of reading. They love to read. They love music class with Miss P, and they love singing the songs. They love going to gym class with Mr. Zangi. They love lunch and recess with Miss Ashley. They have so much fun. They love Mrs. Owens and all the kindness that she gives and all the things that she does for our students. And they love seeing the other teachers in the hall, seeing the other classes. They love coloring with their friends, which they've made for the very first time. But most of all, they answered that they loved having me as their teacher. And then I asked them why. And I got answers that I didn't think I was going to get from 5- and 6-year-olds. And they told me that I made them feel comfortable and important and smart and able to do things that they didn't think that they could ever do. And I made them feel loved. And I wonder if they'll get that same compassion once they're moved to another school with bigger class sizes. Or will they get to see their new friends that they're split up, that they've made now for the first time? How will these children feel after being torn away from a school that they love? I've never heard of kids who really enjoyed going to school. But I know my students love coming to Sumner every day. And I hope that their love of school would stay with them after being jostled around, moved from their safe space, their friends, their school. They're right down the street from their house. But I don't know if it will. Because Charles Sumner, to me and to my students, is not just a school. It's also a home. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marco.
Hello, I've had the pleasure of working at Charles Sumner Elementary for the past 18 years. When you have the opportunity to stay in the same school for such a long time, you have a chance to know all the families and extended families of the children in your school. Students and adults alike flourish when there's stability. The plan to close and consolidate schools causes unneeded chaos for all involved. Our students will be divided up into 2 different schools with 2 entirely different staffs. Our parents will most likely have to make arrangements to get their children to and from school without the option of walking to their neighborhood school. Our students will be in classrooms with high student-teacher ratios, and jobs will also be lost. I would also like you to take into consideration our emotional support classroom and students. Change isn't easy for adults, and it certainly isn't easy for our students. I would ask you to please consider our students as individuals rather than a body in a seat that can be picked up and placed into any classroom. My concerns are this year, our 3rd grade classrooms have had several students move from Sumner from Isaac Tripp because their 3rd grade classrooms are full. Where will all the extra students go next year? We have a transient population. We constantly have students moving in and out of the district. Also, I remember the days, I've been here a long time, when our Title I teachers and our learning support teachers and our speech teachers were forced to teach in small groups in the hallways. I fear that will happen again. I honestly believe that having this town hall meeting is just a formality, and the 3 schools on the chopping block are going to be closed. Dr. Finan, you assured us when you made your recovery plan that it was amendable and things could change, but so far, nothing has changed with the plan. You have also told the board that you give them the recommendations and then they have to make the tough decisions. But so far, the board majority has blindly followed the recovery plan without giving a fight. But it really comes back to the state. If the state really cared about what was going on in Scranton, we would have fair funding. If the state cared about students in Scranton, we would be making educating our students a top priority. If the state was concerned about Scranton, we would have more resources and programs available than less when the state recovery officer came. I beg of you to vote no and challenge Dr. Finan to come up with a plan to move our district forward instead of backwards.
Thank you, Ms. Butler.
It's okay.
It's all right. We'll come back.
Yeah, I'd love for her
Sure.
to come. Come on up. We'd love to hear from you. Come on, please. You can come back up on her behalf, sir.
Upset, I think, over the whole situation.
Sure.
Sorry, as you can see, she's a student that comes here. You can see how emotional this is for her. She has friends here, she has teachers here that she cares about. Teachers here care more about their students than I've ever seen in any school that I've been to personally and I've seen. She had preschool at Isaac Tripp. We didn't get the feeling of that there for the year for the 3-year-old. When she came here, it was a different aspect. Then COVID happened, and I feel that these teachers did an amazing job to the best of their ability in such short notice during COVID, during the cyber school. But she's very emotional and upset about her school closing because she's going to lose all her friends, her favorite teachers, teachers that she respects and she feels loves her and cares about her. And it's just, as a parent, I don't know if any of you have kids in the school district or have had them, you know that you can tell when you see a kid upset like that, that they truly care about their education and how it goes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rosalie.
come prepared, but my son started Sumner, he's in 8th grade now. Started here when he was in kindergarten. Preschool was at Willard. I've seen Willard, I've seen this school. My son has never loved a school more than he does this school. I cannot understand, if you guys close this school, how you're gonna fit everybody into Willard. Trips, it's a bigger school. From what I hear, there's multiple classrooms per grade. There are children here that have ISPs. They have teachers that take the time with these kids. My daughter being one of them, she struggles. They take the time and want these kids to succeed. Not every school is going to be able to do that. Not every teacher is going to be able to do that if they have 30 plus, 40 plus kids in each class. So half of these teachers, I don't even know what's going to happen to them, but they are amazing with these kids. That's my main concern, like what's going to happen with education? Where are these kids going to go? They're going to fall through the cracks, and my daughter's having a hard time mentally, emotionally. She doesn't want to see her school go. She got comfortable here too, just as my son did. My son is succeeding so well right now. He's a part of the STEM Academy because of this school. This school got him to where he is today. And I hate to see these group of people just walk out these doors and never have these doors open again, including myself. My daughter is going to be walking more than a mile and a half away. She's in 2nd grade now. Next year she's going to be in 3rd. I don't trust her to walk to school by herself. I have a job. Her dad has a job. If she doesn't get bused, I don't trust her walking on Main Avenue or Luzerne Street or wherever she may end up. The boundaries keep changing. Everywhere you turn, there's Jackson Street is part of Trips Park now. The boundary is just weird. I feel for these kids. I think that they're not going to get what they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. White.
Mrs. White? Mrs. White, I just want to clarify something. I know you said 30 and 40 in a class. That's not possible. We cannot put that many kids in a class per the contract. So
Can you answer how many classes are going to be per grade if this happens?
we do have that, Mr. Dulica. It is on our frequently asked question document. I apologize, it's not in front, it's online. So as soon as you go to the Scranton School District webpage, it pops up, the reconfiguration. If you click on it, go right in and you will see the numbers, and it will show you from the class sizes here and then the class sizes that would be at Tripp and at Willard if this plan is approved.
Now, can I ask one more question?
Sure.
Some children have, like I said, the IEPs and they go to smaller groups. What is going to happen with that? Are they going to still be able to do that?
No matter what school they went to, we have to follow that. Correct. That service is offered in every school. Correct. Okay? Thank you. Thank you.
Ms. Warren.
Good evening. My name is Kara Kofira Bishop. I'm the mother of 3 children currently in this district, 2 in elementary school at Francis Willard and 1 at West Intermediate. I'm a graduate of Francis Willard, West Intermediate, and West Scranton High School. I left Scranton to earn degrees in education from schools in Philadelphia, New York City, and Cambridge, England. I'm telling you this because education and educational opportunity has been the focus of both my professional life in the U.S. and overseas. Recently, after many years of working in educational assessment and reform abroad, I decided to move back to Scranton and now work in global education, sending students to study abroad in other countries, as well as welcoming international students to my hometown. When I moved back to Scranton in 2020, I cannot even begin to tell you how many people suggested I consider living elsewhere because of constant problems and reliability in the school district. But I am proud to be from Scranton and could not be swayed. Possibly like you, I am so grateful for the small neighborhood schools that prepared and encouraged students to value education and their community, and the wonderful and hardworking teachers in this district who care so much for their students. I told all my naysayers about my faith in our SSD teachers. My children came here from England in the 2021-22 school year. And within a few months, all three were thriving at Willard, a school with 2 to 3 classes per grade where every teacher knows every student. Small neighborhood schools like this and small classrooms allow teachers and principals to actually know individual students and families, allowing both the loudest and the quietest children to succeed. I have both. The school gates and playgrounds are lined with parents, aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents waiting in line in the morning and afternoon. They speak and they know their staff. In many cases, parents and children walk between home and school, and events at the school are focused on building a school community as the heart of the neighborhood. These things still happen daily for me and my children, but some parents at other schools in the district, as discussed, won't have these opportunities if you close their neighborhood schools. Research shows that smaller class sizes produce positive social, emotional, and academic results, and that smaller class sizes result in higher test scores, produce fewer dropouts, and level the playing field for minorities and children living in poverty. I have concerns about a financial recovery plan involving school closure. I see it as a dangerous suggestion being overseen by a person who has a career in Delaware Valley, a district where only 13% of students are in child poverty, compared to 70% of Scranton students, at a minority population of 20% of students, compared to Scranton's over 60%. The plans and the timelines are not a responsible approach for serving the students of Scranton and the communities who will be most affected. Coming off the end of COVID and the learning disruption that we are trying so hard to recover from, further disruption and instability by reconfiguration is clearly a plan which is not invested in the future and success of our youngest schools, our youngest citizens, and our school districts.
Ms. Caveira, if you could wrap up your statements, please.
I know it's well known that socioeconomics can be closely aligned with academic success, but small classrooms and small schools is where students from all backgrounds can and do succeed. If elementary schools switch to large cohorts, who will pick up the pieces? Many people have already asked the same questions. All of the costs that are going to be involved in that, the traffic redirection. And it is only a matter of time until we are searching for and hiring new teachers who are reaching their breaking points and are securing jobs elsewhere. I still have pride in my city, but it hurts immensely when financial recovery turns into educational destruction. The detrimental effect that the loss of preschool education has had on this year's kindergarten students, teachers, and families is already obvious. In this and the next proposal, I see a recovery that is focused solely on figures, but at what expense? Closing buildings in the name of saving money would come at the tremendous expense of these children's futures and the quality of their education. The only question I have for you is what can be done to save our small schools?
Thank you, Ms. Caveira.
crowd thinks that the decision has been made.
No, I just want to know, like, what options are there to save the small schools, right?
I think right now this option is on the plan. I can't answer for you of anything other than it goes to a board vote and the board says yes or no. Okay? So other than that, that's as honest as I can be with you.
Hi, I'm Brooke. Some of you guys know me. I have an 11-year-old son who has an IEP. He's been bounced around from 3 different schools so far in this district. A lot of the money, that was spent, they took out emotional support from a lot of the schools. I believe it was not last year, the year before. One of them was taken out of Charles Sumner, and then it got put back in. So besides the fact, that really mentally took a toll on my son. He then ended up getting brought back to Charles Sumner, where he thrived here. He had amazing teachers. The SBBH team was great, is great here. He's in sixth grade now. From being here, just behavioral and, academically, he's doing great. I also have a kindergartner here. I've been in West Scranton for 14 years now. One of the reasons why I didn't leave is because of this school. I know the principal. She's worked with me so much, again, with a student that has behavioral issues and an IEP. She was amazing, is amazing. And the special education teacher here is great. My son didn't know how to read. Within just being 1 year, he's reading pretty well now. And just the teachers here, they are great. I've never been to a better school. And again, I've been to 3 different schools. Isaac Tripp was one of them. Huge school. But for a child that has an IEP, they need to be in a smaller setting. They cannot learn with multiple students. They need that one-on-one. So I know that another person brought up the IEPs. What are we going to do with children that have IEPs? And I do know that you said, that they have to follow the IEP. But again, when we're putting children that have IEPs in schools with bigger class sizes, even if you did have, a school and that had multiple classrooms and, you expand the classrooms or whatever, these kids still need small classrooms. They need that attention. I know that you spoke about mental health also. Just changing my son from 3 different schools, like I said, took a toll. Even with these, if you hire, social workers or mental health workers, there's still so much anxiety in these children when you put them in different schools and different transitionings. You have to think about that. Just having a social worker or something, come in and talk to a student that doesn't really feel comfortable, they're not going to talk to them. But are they going to talk to these teachers that they knew since kindergarten? They will. Like Scranton, with the different changes, in schools that have been shut down and different things, we need to do better. Us as parents, us as adults, it's not about us. It's about these children. And I stand for Charles Sumner because it's a small community school. There's great teachers, and my child is thriving here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Singer.
Yeah, Mrs. White, you asked a question about the number of sections, I believe, at Willard next year. So the answer to that is based on projected enrollment is 4. So 4 sections, which would mean 4 classes per grade level. And then you asked about average class size. So based off the enrollment projections, we're looking at average class sizes at Willard next year be 21 and about 24 in some of the other grades. Does Willard have that room and capacity? Yes, they do.
Tina Kuiper. I was a senior graduate of 2012 West Scranton High School. I was senior year of Tech, National Second Honor Society, Noctes, like high Noctes. I was always a straight A student. I have 4 children of my own, one that goes here in kindergarten, a 6-year-old, and he's doing extremely well as far as the progress that goes with the conference. He's also, he was supposed to go to Francis Willard, but the thing is the emotional support group. Now, he has mental health conditions that unfortunately is biological. And, I've been in and out of counseling my whole life for 20 years. It's just something I went through that is really tremendously helps him. With the transitions, the changes is going to affect my children in many ways. They're already going in and out, their grandmother's house, my house, a lot of changes. And with schools, they're something they're used to is going to take away their happiness, their progress, the funding. I don't know, can't there be fundraisers that can be set up for that like it used to be, like Krispy Kreme or make homemade things for the classroom and make ideas and make funding that way for the children, because this is going to affect everything. Like me growing up, I went to Francis Willard, went to Lincoln Jackson. They're making rooming houses for Lincoln Jackson. They it's just I remember my whole life, I was born and raised in Scranton my whole life, and it's just going to affect everything if you close the school. Their happiness depends on this school. That's something they're used to, the teachers, everything. So isn't there some type of way you can make like some sort of like project or like for the students even? Get creative, like make ideas to make fundraising. You know, like I excel pretty well my whole life through Scranton School District. And I think it's just like closing a school would be a big mistake. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kuiper.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
As you can hear back there, I'm not happy. No parent here is happy about anything that's going on in the school districts. These kids are traumatized already. Their whole entire, like since COVID, they're tossed around. You got to do this, you got to do that. Now you got clear book bags. Now you got to do this. Like, how many orders are these kids going to actually, like, I get it, okay? Every parent here gets it. But, like, we've had enough. Like, enough is enough with this school district. My son has issues. He has problems. He comes here. This school, okay, helped my son tremendously. They call me. They keep track. They help him every step of the way. He does have an IEP. My son, since he's been tossed around and flipped around back and forth here and there, okay, he's had multiple problems. It's not like, okay, well, you're going to go here, you're going to go there. Like, it's just, I'm upset. There's so much things that I don't want to say anything that's going to get me in trouble or anything. I'm just have it in your heart. Just have a heart. Understand how these kids are feeling. Understand how the parents are feeling. Do you have kids? Do you deal with this? Thank you. Do you understand how these kids' disability is affecting being tossed around and flipped around? And that's not fair to them. It's not fair. I don't know if you have kids. I'm assuming you do or you don't, okay? But how would you feel? Put yourselves in our shoes, okay? I'm a single mother who works. I work my butt off, okay, to provide. And with a son with a disability, okay, I can't, like, okay, I have to go to work. How am I going to get my son to school? Are one of you going to volunteer to pick my son up? Are one of you going to help me? Who's going to help? There's nobody, because you're tossing these kids here, there, everywhere. Enough already. Closing the schools, open the schools. What do we have to do as parents to keep the school open? I'm sure every single one of us here will put our foot forward. But none of you are saying anything because it's hush. All the time. Hush, 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 hush. Okay? My son is traumatized. My son is on medication, okay? Because different teachers, different principals. Okay, well, you got to go here. Okay, you can't bring the book bag. My son has a disability, yes. He's used to bringing SpongeBob book bags. Now we got to bring clear book bags. Well, you can't bring that to school. Like, okay, that's understandable. But now closing the school down, he loves this school. I said to my son before I left, Dave, do you want to come with me? He said, yeah, I'll come with you. And then I'm like, okay, he has wrestling. He goes to wrestling. I keep my son involved in West Scranton wrestling. He's in baseball. He's in football. I keep him involved because he has a disability. This is going to affect all these kids. And it's not fair. You all sit up here, and I hope every one of you have a heart and understand what every single parent in here with an IEP child that has disabilities is going through, because it sucks, okay? Tossing your child back and forth and all around is not fair to us or the child. That is not right. Please have it in your heart to keep the school open. Let our children continue to have their education. My son needs a smaller classroom. He has PCAs. He has out centers that come in to help also. You guys don't even have enough money to pay for another all PCAs. Every time a PCA comes, well, okay, well, she's got to go. We're looking for another PCA. Where does that leave my child?
Thank you, Ms. Gomez.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm Margie Holmes. I'm going to flip the script. I am a teacher. I was a teacher at 23 years from George Bancroft. I am now at Isaac Tripp. So I've lived this nightmare. And I'm here to tell you, please listen to these parents, okay? They are speaking their truth, all right? I've lived this and I experienced this. Half of their families, they will come. Miss Barb, I see her in the audience. She was with me at Bancroft for many years. And she was the lucky one. She came to a small school. I am at the larger school, so I do see what they're going to experience, okay? I'm not sure. I really don't. This is the first time. This is a beautiful building. You know, I could cry right now because it brings back the memories that I had at Bancroft and what we have at small school and that environment, okay? Isaac Tripp, I love it, but it is huge. It reminds me of a middle school when I walk in there, okay? We do have 6 kindergarten classrooms. Last year I had 27 kids. This year, I'm lucky. I have 23 kids. And I think it's a vacation with 23, okay? Because 27 is a lot. And those 4 different bodies, like, it makes a difference when you have 5 and 6-year-olds, especially when there was no preschool last year, okay? So it's a whole different ball game, all right? And then there's 6 first grade classrooms right now. And then when you look at the numbers, since your last board meeting and you have the screens, all right, I've gotten a kid, the other 2 kindergarten classrooms have gotten students, so we're already maxing out that 26 kids. So you're gonna have 7 first grade classrooms next year when you're looking at these numbers. So all of this has to come into play. I don't know if there's bus runs here, okay? I'm gonna tell you right now, Bancroft did not have transportation except for the special ed students who had their independent transportation. That was a nightmare for Bancroft students, okay? Last year, all right, for Bancroft teachers, we didn't know what to do for dismissal, okay? We didn't know what to do for arrival. It took about a month and a half to learn, and it was a nightmare, okay? Coming in from recess in that, things that you don't think of, we had to learn just as professionals, okay? We didn't know how to do that. The kids, they were like terrified of the bus. They never rode a bus before. My parents, okay? We just got done parent-teacher conferences. I have a lot of Bancroft families. Why? They requested me, Mrs. Holmes, thank God you have my baby this year. Thank God you have my baby this year because you know what? We know you, all right? I didn't even know that the little ones existed because of the pandemic. I'm like, where did this one come from? You know, and they were laughing at me coming back to school. I'm like, oh my God, they're like, Mrs. Holmes, Mrs. Holmes. And I'm like looking around, and here they're all coming in my line, and they're not even on my roster. And Ms. Greenback knows they all come in your line because they know you, all right? And they do. They want, because they know that familiarity. And these parents are telling you their teachers have their children, and they want that, okay? And it is, the small school setting, believe me, it matters. Okay, it truly does matter. And Isaac Tripp is a beautiful, wonderful school, believe me, I know that. But I also know what they're saying with our population of students. The small classrooms actually matter with the being able to give them that undivided attention, that differentiated instruction, you know, those centers and those small groups, okay? That matters when you have 27 kids in a group, in a class, or if you have, you know, 21 in a class, or even 23, there is a difference. There truly is a difference.
Thank you, Ms.
And I
Holmes.
just want to express that. And, you know, like I said, with the transportation, I don't know if you guys have transportation here at the school. We didn't have it at Bancroft, and that was one huge thing that caused an issue at Isaac Tripp. And they had transportation. I think they had 9 bus routes, you know, prior to Bancroft being moved in. And I think it bumped it up to 11 or 12. And that just made such a huge difference in transportation issues. And, you know, we, in the beginning of last year,
Thank you, Ms.
had
Holmes.
kids sitting on the floor for half an hour before the bus came, did like a round 2 to come get them, just to take them home. So these are all things to think of.
Thank you for your comments. I want to thank everybody for taking the time out of their evening to come out. Obviously, I think this isn't an easy decision for anyone, and I think this is all part of the process. Thank you to the board members. Thank you for the panelists. Thank you for Ms. Romaldini and Mr. Kazinga for offering your translating services. So thank you all, and have a good night.